It's a Central Division clash. It's the Indiana Pacers. It's the Cleveland Cavaliers in round two. Two awesome offenses. One team's better on defense. Who will win? Danny Cunningham from Locked On Cavs and Tony East from Locked On Pacers cross it over today on Locked On Pacers and Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On NBA Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Pacers and Locked On Cavs. We're crossing it over today because the series is coming this weekend. It's going to be fantastic. Who is first in the NBA in playoff offensive rating? It's the Cavs. Who is second? It's the Pacers. There's going to be a lot of points, and there's going to be a lot of fun. I'm Tony East. I host Locked On Pacers. Danny Cunningham from Locked On Cavs is here. Danny, this one's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. I'm still mad at the Pacers, believe it or not. I have not forgotten the sins of the final regular season game of the season where the Pacers took it
series. It's
not into one, but to two overtimes in a game that meant nothing and meant that you and I had to stick around at Rocket Arena for an extra hour when we could have been at home watching other games that maybe mattered. Instead, that's what we had to do. And I'm mad at the Pacers for that still over a month later.
I recorded Locked On Pacers in the road media room, and then I watched the overtime Masters hole on my phone, trying to leave Rocket Arena, which was locked on the inside, and I did not know about the media door exit, so I took forever to get out of there. Lost tales from travels. This series is going to be exceedingly fun to me because the Pacers just ran through the Bucks in a series that they said, this is great. Our offense was awesome. We were really prepared. We could score. We could get whatever shots they wanted. And then you look and you're like, oh, my God, what did the Cavs just do to the Heat? The Heat played really well and lost by 30 multiple times. Like, this is as challenging and as a buzzsaw of a team as it gets. And usually the starting place for these kind of conversations that we're about to have is, what happened in the regular season? What can we take from those matchups that could be predictive for this series? But I don't think I can think of a 4-game set that was less informative for a playoff series than the 4 games that Pacers and Cavs played this year.
I could agree more with that. So you go back to the first matchup between these two teams. The Pacers won in Cleveland. They snapped what was the second double-digit winning streak for the Cavs, a 12-game winning streak. Tyrese Haliburton leaves that game late in the first half, certainly didn't play in the second half, and the Pacers just ran the Cavs out of the gym in the second half. They won that game by like 20 points. It was, at that point, the worst loss of the season for the Cavs. And then 2 nights later in Indy, the Cavs come back and Tyrese Haliburton doesn't play in that entire game for the Pacers. The Cavs go out and they win a game, I think, by like 15 points. But the dates of those games, very important because the Cavs made a pretty significant trade between those 2 games. And right now they acquired DeAndre Hunter. Hunter did play in the 3rd game of the season between these 2 teams, but Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley all did not. So, and then the 4th game, nobody played really for either.
You and I were ready for that game. We were about to suit up. Yeah,
I brought my sneakers. Kenny Atkinson didn't put me in the game. Very disappointing stuff. But I had my sneakers ready to go. But that's just kind of the story, I think, of these regular season matchups. Like you can look at the playing style and maybe how these 2 teams match up. And if you want to look at certain things like in the game the Cavs won, that both teams actually played significant players, the Cavs played a zone in the second half that really gave Pascal Siakam, who had a great first half in that game, and the rest of Indiana's offense fits. Does that translate to the postseason? Maybe. I'm not so sure. But just overall, I think that there's not much to take away from this. I think you're better off preparing for this series if you're a Cavs fan by going back and watching the 5 games they played against the Bucks in the first round. And if you're a Pacers fan, go back and watch the 4 games that the Cavs played against the Miami Heat in the first round, because those are, I think, much truer tests to who these teams are right now, rather than the 4 games that were sprinkled throughout the regular season that these 2 teams actually played against each other.
Yeah, and even if you want to go back, like, what about last year? Like, these teams have similar rosters in theory. They had probably 2 of the lowest turnover groups from year over year. But even then, 2 years ago, Garland and Mobley weren't this, right? Or even close. And the Cavs bench is still a little different. And Siakam wasn't on the team for half the year last year. And they have other improvements from Nembhard and Nesmith. Like, it's just not, it's really hard to find baseline things. Like, okay, great that DeAndre Hunter and Ty Jerome absolutely ripped up the Pacers in that mid-April game that the Pacers really needed to win, but they're not going to play that many minutes in the playoffs. And like, Jarris Walker was 6 for 7 in that game. Like, he was incredible. Like, he had a great game against the Bucks. Like, that's probably not going to happen. Like, they're so uninformative that it's painful. Like, Siakam had a great half and then a terrible half. Haliburton only played 5 quarters against the Cavs in 4 games. Like, you just get nothing from it, which is why there's a lot of questions to me about just like, what am I about to see? Like, I had a great idea of what the Bucks were going to do against the Pacers. They've now played 20 times across the last 2 seasons. Like, I'm very well prepared to talk about Pacers Bucks. I am not here. And even though I have a very good idea of what to expect and like what these teams will try to do, I wonder how it will look at all. Who's going to set the tempo? Can the Pacers at full strength stop the Cavs at full strength? Can the Cavs at full strength stop the Pacers at their worrying level of offense? So what like big picture matchup, storyline, stat, whatever intrigues you the most when it comes to how this series will be dictated?
So I think what's going to intrigue me the most is what the Cavs do defensively against Tyrese Haliburton. Like, I have no questions about whether or not the Cavs are going to be able to put up points. I think they can put up points on anybody because their offense is that potent. They can attack in so many different ways. Like, they're such a good shooting team. They just have so many weapons offensively. Like, I don't have questions about that. But Tyrese Haliburton is in. The Cavs, I think, do deserve a lot of credit for the way they handled Tyler Hero in the first round in Miami. And they did a lot of top locking on him, and they really forced him out of even being able to be on the floor. They essentially turned, especially in games 3 and 4, when they were playing defense, they were kind of playing 4-on-4. And it was Max Strus and Tyler Hero standing off to the corner, just staring at each other and not actually playing basketball. And they can't do that to Tyrese Haliburton because the basketball in his hands so much more frequently. So I do wonder, what is their defensive strategy going to be on him? Obviously, the Pacers like to play at a faster tempo, not only in the regular season, but in the playoffs as well. And they have dropped from the regular season to the playoffs a little bit just because the game naturally slows down, but they're still one of the quicker teams in the playoffs. So how do they dictate what speed this game is played at? Because I do think during the season, and this doesn't necessarily have to do with the Pacers, but at times when the Cavs would struggle, it was because they played the game on the opponent's terms. And if they find a way to make the Pacers play the style of basketball the Cavs want to play, they're not going to have problems in this series. Like, the Pacers will win a game, maybe 2, but I don't think the Cavs will be in any danger of losing the series if they force the Pacers to play their style of basketball. Now, if the Pacers can play, we're going to run up and down the floor, we're going to kill you in transition, we're going to do all these things, that's when I think the Cavs have things to worry about. But if they can prevent that stuff, they'll be fine.
Yeah, the Pacers actually were really unhappy with their pace a lot of times in the first round, even when they were winning. Like Thomas Bryant, game 1, I like to ask guys win or lose after games, what do you want to do better? Because I can make my own adjustments, but theirs are obviously smarter than mine. And they just won a game by 15. He's like, oh, you're way too slow. Game 2, they won again where Carlisle's like, yeah, we got to be faster. And then you look and it's like their longest seconds per possession of the season. And so I think they'll want to be dictating the tempo in the exact way you described. And the Haliburton part of it's fascinating because, last year when he was ascending really to All-Star and All-NBA status for the first time, he had to see all those coverages for the first time. Like, here comes blitzes. I don't know about that. Okay, they're trapping me here or that. And like, he took his lumps last year. So this year, those mixed up coverages don't mess with him as much, especially because he's such a good passer. But that's what it takes, is like the worst game the Pacers played in the first round. They saw the most switch heavy scheme the Bucks threw out in the whole round to that point, and it just made the Pacers go side to side enough that they weren't playing like the Pacers. Too slow, not enough paint pressure, not enough rim pressure. And Haliburton put it on himself, said he's got to be better. Couldn't get him out of it. And so it's got to be about mixing it up to me, because if he just sees the same thing over and over, eventually, given his IQ and acumen for the game, he will figure it out. And I think, like you just mentioned with Hero, Strus has got to be the starter who's on him, right?
I would imagine so.
At some point.
Well, I don't think that they're not going to start this series with DeAndre Hunter in the starting lineup. Like, they're going to. And one of the things that Kenny Atkinson said that I'm kind of keeping in my back pocket for later, so I don't know why I'm going to say it on this podcast right now, because I think it might be important down the road. But before game 3, or maybe it was after game 2, but the Miami Heat shifted Davion Mitchell into their starting lineup for Alec Burks. And Kenny Atkinson said that making a change to the starting lineup is like the biggest change that you can possibly make. So there will be adjustments made throughout this series, but I do think that it has to be a really big deal for Kenny Atkinson to make that sort of change, just because of what he said about somebody else doing it. Like, that's what I'm reading into those comments. So Max Strus is going to start this series. They're going to have their normal starting 5 as long as Darius Garland is ready to go for game 1, which is up in the air with that toe injury that he missed the final 2 games against the Heat series with. But in their normal starting five, Max Strus will absolutely be the one that starts on Tyrese Haliburton. I think you will at times see DeAndre Hunter defend him. I think you will see Dean Wade defend him. You might see Isaac Okoro defend him. Part of the beauty of what the Cavs can do defensively, and I think they underachieved on that end of the floor during the regular season, but obviously had a very good first round on that end of the floor. Part of their beauty is they have so many different guys that they can put on good guards or wings, right? Like had the Milwaukee Bucks advanced and beaten the Pacers, and in a different world, Damian Lillard doesn't get hurt and he's good. Like I could tell you, okay, Isaac Okoro is going to defend him a lot. This is obviously a different matchup, but they don't have a shortage of guys that they can try. Not saying all of them are going to find success, but Max Strus is going to spend time on him. DeAndre Hunter, Dean Wade, like that group of guys will all defend Tyrese Haliburton at certain points in this series.
I'm very interested in the backup matchups in general, and I would like to talk about them, but I want to talk about something else first. Everybody, quick break so we can talk about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That is where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop simply managing your money and start building wealth. When many people start using Monarch, they realize just how much they're spending on things like food delivery. Now, they budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off of your first year. All right, back here, crossing it over on Locked On Pacers and Locked On Cavs. Oh, Lord, if you see Danny laughing, just know that I am a disaster tech user. The backcourt matchups to me are going to be really interesting because I don't think Tyrese Haliburton's guarding either of Garland or Mitchell. I think he'll guard the guy guarding him. And so I've thought today a lot about, like, if you're the Pacers, your two best perimeter defenders are Nembhard and Nesmith. That's fine. You can put them on the two Cavs guards and feel, air quotes, good. Yay! Good about that, right? Does it matter which one is on who, or is the answer just make it simple for transition chances and just have them guard whichever one is guarding them? But is that actually the best way to do it? I think if I just like gun to my head what I do, I would put Nembhard on Mitchell and Nesmith on Garland. But I don't know that it's that's all going to be super fascinating to me because I had imagined the Cavs want to do the same thing. They want to put those two guards on Nembhard and Nesmith, and we just talked about Strus on Haliburton.
I think that for Indy's purposes, like I think you want to make Darius Garland work a little bit harder, right? Because he's the one that hasn't necessarily done all this in the
incoming is what I'm hearing.
Right. Well, I mean, think back to this is in, we just got done talking about how little there is to take away from the regular season matchups, but go back and watch the game the Pacers won in Cleveland in January. Part of the reason that game shifted because the Cavs got off to a great start in that game. Like Tyrese Haliburton in the 18 minutes he played, he was a -14. The Cavs were playing really well. And then when Haliburton left, it meant that, there was time on the floor for other guards. And I don't remember which one it was between Nesmith and Nembhard, but they started really pressuring the basketball for 94 feet. And I think that when the Cavs are at their most uncomfortable, it's when an opponent is doing that. So whichever one of those two guys you think, whether it's Nesmith, Nembhard, maybe even somebody else, I don't know, whichever one of those two guys you think can cause the most havoc to Darius Garland trying to just bring the ball up the floor, like I think that would be your answer. Knowing that now, what direction would you go?
If that is true, the best way to disrupt the Cavs, then Nembhard should guard Garland and Nesmith should guard Mitchell. Again, like I would totally understand if they said it doesn't actually matter to us. Like just guard who guards you. Because then transition is easier. And if the Cavs are in the open floor, they're on the Pacers level or near it of like open floor mastery, right? So maybe that's just the answer and it doesn't matter that much. And the Pacers have pressed everyone. They were pressed Giannis. They not all the time, but enough. Like they were just mixing it up against him. A huge change in their strategy to beat the Knicks last year was like, all right, let's just press Brunson. Screw it. Let's make him walk across 16 instead. That was really huge for them. So I do think maybe they'll just start doing it, but if they immediately need to push an adjustment button early in the series, that could be it. And if that means it's Andrew Nembhard guarding Garland, who at times I thought was the Cavs' best offensive player this year. No one who covers the Cavs agrees with me, which means I'm completely wrong about that, but that's what I thought.
Well, no, I mean,
then yeah, that's something to do.
I think earlier in the season, he did not have a great second half of the season. He injured his hip in the second game after the All-Star break against the New York Knicks. He missed a couple games. He was just never the same after that. Now, before he injured his toe in the second game against Miami, I thought he was really good. But that said, like, he is always going to be maybe not the third option. I don't know if that is the right way to put this, but Donovan Mitchell is going to mean more to them. Evan Mobley is going to mean more to them on both ends of the floor. Certainly offensively, I think he's had a great year. But it's not as if Garland's ever been bad, right? Like, I think that when the All-Star break arrived, I'm like, Darius Garland, the Cavs might have 3 All-NBA guys because Darius Garland might make All-NBA and Donovan was a lock, and I thought Evan at that time was a lock too.
Agreed.
Then Garland didn't have the great second half of the season, but he's still been like, he had a really, really good year, much better than what he was last year, certainly.
Yeah. And so if that's what it takes to make, just even if it just adds the shot clock as a defender, great. I think the Pacers should try it. Do you want to talk about the front court? Is there another aspect of the matchup?
What do you think? What do you think? Because one of the things that the Cavs have found so much success with this year has been Ty Jerome. And Ty had a great game one against the Miami Heat. Right. The Cavs had a great game one against Ty had a great game one against Miami. He had, I think, 28 points on 15 shots off the bench. And he doesn't necessarily always get a huge opportunity in terms of a scoring load or field goal attempts. But when he takes 14 or more shots in a game, he averages like 25 points. It's just that that's only happened like 12 times this year. And I think one of those games was against the Pacers that last week of the season. So when you start to talk about depth, how confident are you in Indy's depth, particularly in the backcourt, versus what the Cavs have with not only Garland and Mitchell, but Jerome as well?
Well, actually, we need to talk about us for a second, Danny. We need to both be mentally prepared for the number of comments we're going to get complaining about the opposing team's backup point guard. TJ McConnell and Ty Jerome are going to be very annoying for opposing teams' fan bases for the next week or so. It's going to be extremely funny. Yeah, I'll be curious. Like, I was wrong in the last year against the Bucks. The Pacers played 8 guys reliably. They very rarely went beyond that. So I thought they would do that this year, and they didn't. They were 10 deep all the time. If Thomas Bryant played one more minute in the series, they would have had 11 guys average 10 minutes per game. They didn't play 11 guys in any game, but they like really stretched out the rotation. That does help them play fast, especially when their bench succeeds. McConnell was good to close the series. Jarris Walker made shots, right? Like, that's all great. But, you know, I wonder 2 things when it comes to like depth matchup with the Cavs. Naturally in my head, one of, like, you know this better, like one of Allen or Mobley's always on the floor. So that makes me say, oh, they probably should play a backup center. But like, can you play Thomas Bryant against the Cavs offense? Like, that seems a little scary. I wonder if they start with him in the rotation, and then if they're like, okay, we just can't stop them, they go to Jarris Walker as the 10th guy and just try to score as many points as they can, because McConnell is going to play, Mathurin's going to play, Toppin's going to play. And then my assumption would be this is like the exact series Ben Shepherd's skill set is made for, because he's a very good point of attack defender. Great go guard, whatever, great Cavs ball handlers on the floor every time he's out there. So he seems like he's in. So that leaves the other 2 guys I said, Walker and Bryant, as the last guys to think about. But if they play 10 and they just can't stop the Cavs, like, they're just going to index on offense the whole time and just pray. But you like cutting those guys out of the rotation is not how they're going to score more, right? It's going to be, so I'm very curious how this depth battle goes, because as the Pacers found out in that April game that they almost lost with no Cavs starters, even the Cavs bench is hard to stop, right? They have to be on their A game offensively.
Right. And I think that's part of it. Like, how many teams in the NBA have somebody as good as DeAndre Hunter coming off the bench? And I know that Ty Jerome didn't enter this season kind of being what he's turned into this year, but there are not many teams that have a third guard that has been as good as Ty Jerome this year. So I do think that is actually a big advantage of the Cavs. So you mentioned, you know, the Pacers playing 10, and that is something that keeps their pace going. One of the things that I think is an interesting turn the NBA has made, and I've made this point lately too, is I don't know that it's about as much as the top end talent, because I just think there's so much of it. There's so much of it now. I think it's kind of like, okay, how good is your worst rotation player?
I totally agree.
Like, how much does that matter? And I think that if these rotations shrink, the Cavs probably have the advantage through like 9 guys. Like, is the Cavs 9th guy better than the Pacers 9th guy? I would think so. And that is just, I think, an interesting spot where I think the Cavs have an advantage.
Yeah, the Pacers' depth has been a huge advantage for them a lot of the time, but it just was in the last round. It helped them beat the Knicks last year, right? Like, that's certainly true. They love their depth. And again, it helps them play fast. They can keep Siakam and Haliburton near like 34, 35 minutes, even in the playoffs. Like, that's huge. But that is hard when the other team's bench is as good as the Cavs is. And something the Pacers have done at times poorly, to the complaints of their fan base, is the mixing and matching of bench starter groups has not always been crisp to me. Like, that was brutal in their game 3 loss to the Bucks. Like, Thomas Bryant played 21 minutes in that game. For some reason, Turner was bad and had some foul trouble. So that will be a fascinating part of this to me, is how do the Pacers decide what bench players to use and when? Because there's a chance that, like, again, I just mentioned this with the Walker Bryant part, but like, if they can't stop the Cavs, they just have to play offensive players. Like, don't worry about stopping them. Don't worry about, like, Ben Shepherd can't make threes, but you're putting him out there for defense. Great, screw it. Go with someone else who is going to score. So maybe that'll be challenging. Like, McConnell's been up and down this year. Toppin wasn't as good in the first round this year as he was last year. Mathurin was fine, but not in the ways that everybody thought. Like, they might just be searching for some answers, or just like trying to put as much shooting around their ball handlers as they can very quickly in this series. And I think they should be not concerned, but I agree that the Cavs bench is good enough that they need to be thinking about quickly how to change things.
Yeah, I mean, that all makes sense. And I think that as the series gets longer, the rotation's going to get shorter, and just like how many good players you have is a question that I think matters now more than it ever has when we talk about the NBA playoffs. I really think that.
Can we talk about 2 Texas big men? In just a second.
You want to talk about Tristan Thompson?
3 Texas bigs, the 2 that are going to play and start, are the 2 I want to talk about. Back here on Locked On Cavs and Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us both your first listen today on every single day. Your second listen normally should be the opposite of this show that you normally listen to during this series, but not today, because it's going to be the same show. Although John Fanta, I believe, is descending upon Locked On Cavs. So please listen to that if you're interested in the greatest college basketball insider on the planet.
He's the best.
He is. He is just awesome. So, do I have this right? Jared Allen had more steals than missed shots in the first round. Is that what the crazy stat is everybody's throwing around?
So Jared Allen in the first round, averaged 2.5 steals per game. Okay. And he shot 77.8% from the floor. So I don't know if those raw numbers, I've not looked at the raw numbers. I need to pull up the total. I hadn't seen that stat.
I want to say he had like 9 or 10 steals and like 7 missed shots or something. I might have
so
that
he missed 6 shots in the first round and had 10 steals in the first round.
Isn't that unreal? That is,
I mean, that's kind of what he's like. The steal stuff is not what he's done, but this guy's just been an efficiency machine this year. He was the first qualifying player in NBA history to shoot 70% or better from the floor and 70% or better from the free throw line. It had not ever happened in NBA history for guys that qualified in both field goal percentage leaderboard and free throw percentage leaderboard. And that's what he did. Like, he's the guy that doesn't get the credit he deserves, is certainly not in the spotlight the way that the other 3 all-stars for the Cavs are, but he is as integral to their success on both ends of the floor too. It's not just that he's a really good rim defender, but he is an incredibly integral part to their success.
I'll be fat. I don't know that they'll guard each other the whole series. I'm interested in the front court a little bit. I imagine they will start on each other, the Myles Turner versus Jared Allen thing. This is like an overblown thing people say, but it's somewhat true. I'll be curious how willing to get out to Myles Turner Jared Allen is, or what the Cavs do differently if they're not willing to just send Jared Allen out, because he will pick and pop a lot, right? He had 1 bad game shooting in the first round. All the rest of the Bucks are like, oh, crap. We have got to get out and guard that guy. On the other hand, you've watched enough Pacers Cavs games to know Jared Allen's going to get 15 rebounds a game and make 8 shots right around the basket, even if Myles Turner is close by, because he's very good at that. And while Myles Turner is a great defender at a lot of things, that specific type of player has not always been his best moments. How they hit each other with their offensive strengths will be really interesting to me in this series.
So one of the things I'm very interested in, and I need to get your perspective on, is how many 3-pointers per game is Myles Turner willing to shoot? Like, is he willing to take 8 threes in a game?
Is Jalen Duren on the other
average
team?
That? Jalen Duren is not on the Cavs. No,
because the number is much higher when Jalen Duren is on the other team. That's just by chance. He hit 1 million threes against the Pistons twice this year. Yeah, like, he's comfortable shooting them if he's open. And he had a really good like floor game series in the first round, like catching at the free throw line and passing, or like going into a quick pitch or whatever. So I think they'll still try to work through that. It's not like he's like diamond guys up or anything, but he just keeps the offense flowing. You have to on the Pacers. So I don't know that he'll be taking more than maybe 6 or 7, but he makes 40% of those if he's wide open. So that's a high enough volume to get out, but not, I don't know. The Bucks, I thought, were a little too afraid of it, but you can't be unafraid of it. There's a proper middle ground.
Right. I just wonder if the Cavs are going to, have to pick something to give up in this series because of how good of a creator that Tyrese Haliburton is. Like, is that the thing that if there are 2 games where Myles Turner hits, say he combines to hit 10 threes in 2 games and the Pacers win those games because of those, but there are other games where maybe he is 1 of 7 or 2 of 8 from beyond the arc. Like, is that a trade the Cavs might be willing to live with? I think so. And I do wonder if there gets to a point where maybe he doesn't have a good shooting game. Say he is 1 of 6. Does he start to get tentative instead of just letting it fly on that 7th or 8th 3-pointer? That is something that I'm very curious about.
That did happen in game 3 of the Pacers first round series and will of course be a critical part of this. If they're not guarding him and they have no spacing or less spacing, not no spacing, yeah, they're gonna be in trouble. They're gonna be in a lot of trouble to score. Do we have any interest in Siakam and Mobley, or do we just expect them to be rock solid, guard each other, great, have fun? I mean, we're 25 minutes in. They're both all-stars. We haven't said their names at all.
So I don't know that they're going to defend each other the whole time because you think back to the Cavs don't love Siakam,
I think
the Cavs don't love putting Evan Mobley on the other team's best player. Now, when they do it, like, he's really good. He's the defensive player of the year for a reason, but it's not the thing that he's best at, right? And we've seen this with a lot of different defenders, and I'm not trying to compare him to it, but when Giannis was in his defensive prime, which he's not in anymore, as we saw at the end of game 5 between the Pacers and the Bucks.
Hey, you carry that offensive load and guard the Pacers.
One possession season on the line. That's what happened. Come on.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. It was pretty rough.
But when he was in his defensive prime, he was often not guarding the other team's best player. Like, was great at being a weak side defender, right? Like, he would come over. You remember
the why is it Giannis guarding Jimmy Butler stuff? Yeah, that
I do remember that.
Guarded those guys. Yeah.
And Evan is not to that point. Like, he will defend the other team's really good players at times. But I think in an ideal world for the Cavs, in certain lineups, like, Evan is going to play center and will play more minutes in this series than Jarrett Allen will. And the Cavs might close games with Jarrett Allen on the bench because of what they can do with Evan Mobley at center, both offensively and defensively. But when he's at center, if they have DeAndre Hunter on Pascal Siakam, I think they might like that a little bit more so that Evan can kind of roam and protect the rim and create havoc in a lot of different areas rather than just say, hey, go stop number 43 for Indiana.
Siakam's game, like one-on-one style, kind of works against anyone just because he has a wide bag, as the Cavs found out in that second game this year. But there are the zone cookie ways to, like, kind of get his spots are very covered by a traditional 2-3 zone, for example. Like, there are ways to make him limited that would, in theory, open up the game for other players. Sometimes during the regular season, as the Cavs know, that did not work for the Pacers. In the playoffs, they were no trouble scoring against the zone. TJ McConnell would just, a zone, great. I'm going to dribble twice to the right, fade away, and score every time. It just happened over and over. It was quite funny. I'll be curious how much the Cavs were second in zone, right, this season in zone frequency. Third, maybe?
Just behind Miami. I will say the Cavs do a much better job playing zone defense than the Milwaukee Bucks do. In watching, I'm not going to sit here and act like I watched every single second of that series. Because I didn't. I was busy, as you might imagine. But the parts of it that I did watch the Bucks play defense, it's just like, you guys have no idea what you're doing. Like, this is just atrocious. And I think that the Cavs playing zone, not saying that they're going to be perfect, because defensively nothing is perfect in today's NBA. But I think that their concept of zone defense is much better than Milwaukee's concept of zone defense.
Yeah, I agree with that. And mostly because they have more, like, I guess Giannis and Brook are huge. But outside of those two, the Cavs have more size. And I guess the best way
Jarrett Allen can move and Brook Lopez can't.
Yeah.
Like, that's part of it. Like, Brook Lopez can't do that stuff because he's so slow. Like, he got played out of that series. If Jarrett Allen isn't on the floor in closing time, it's because the Cavs want to have Evan Mobley at center, not because Jarrett can't play in the series.
The Cavs also have guys who just, like, put it nicely. Like, I've said this about Dean Wade a million times in the last couple of weeks. That guys just don't mess up as much. Like, a lot of Bucks guys just mess up on defense. Yeah. The Cavs don't. Like, Dean Wade is in the right spot, facing the right direction, angled correctly, like, every second of every game. It's insane. He's like perfect. I would love to have Dean Wade on any team that I
think a lot of teams feel like that. And like, Sam Merrill Dean has some natural physical advantages, being like 6'9" and being a strong guy and being athletic. Sam Merrill is not the biggest guy in the world. He's not a great defender, but he doesn't mess up. Like, he knows where to be. And I don't even know if saying that's half the battle is accurate. Like that might be 75% of the battle. And if you're good at that 75%, you can find your way onto the floor. And that's kind of why he's successful and doesn't get played off the floor ever. It's just like, I'm going to do my job. I know where to be. Maybe I'll get beat physically, but I'm not going to have these mental lapses.
Sam Merrill can also hit a 3 per minute in the fourth quarter of a game the Pacers desperately would like to win for playoff positioning purposes. I will never forget that.
I mean, Kevin Harlan was on that call. I mean, he was calling that game like prime Steph Curry was shooting, not Sam Merrill. It was incredible.
Yeah, the Pacers are very grateful for the Cavs closing that game with Jalen Tyson, Tristan Thompson, Javonte Green, and Craig Porter instead of Ty Jerome.
Who would you have given the ball in the final possession, Tony?
Doesn't matter.
Chance to win the game with that group.
The Death Star, fate of the Earth, who in that Cavs 5-man group is shooting the last shots. Yeah, that game secured the Pacers their playoff spot or their home court advantage. That's what it was.
Home court advantage, yeah.
It was a very big win for them, and they were like, "Thank you, Cavs, for whatever you want to call that effort in that game." All right, we've gotten
not playing Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter for most of the fourth quarter.
Did they play at all in the fourth quarter? I don't even.
They might have opened the fourth. I don't remember exactly.
Ty Jerome did not play at all in the fourth quarter. DeAndre Hunter played 5.5 minutes.
Yeah, they didn't close the game, and that was, I think, a big reason why the Pacers were able to hang out for a win.
Dude, Kenny Atkinson forgot he was available. That's such a bummer. All right, 30 minutes and 30 seconds in, we're talking about a meaningless April 10th game. Predictions time. I'll let you go first since you have the one-seeded team.
Wow. I've been torn. Listen, obviously I'm going to pick the Cavs. They won 64 games. They're very heavy favorites in this series. I don't think it's some earth-shattering thing that I'm going to pick them to win this series. Tony, I've been torn between 5 and 6 games. Like, I think that they're not going to have any problem scoring against the Pacers. I don't think their offensive rating is going to be exactly what it was against Miami, where it set the record for best offensive rating in a playoff series ever. I don't know that they'll match that, but I think that if they need to average 130 points in a game, particularly at a much faster pace than what they played in the first round against Miami, that's not going to be an issue for them. I've got a lot of respect for Rick Carlisle as a coach. I think Tyrese Haliburton is awesome. I think this Pacers team is really good and has been really good. From the time really the calendar flipped to 2025, I think they're only a half game worse than the Cavs in terms of the standings. Now, part of that is the Cavs very much did not care for the last month of the season and finished 8-8. So what do I do with that? I don't know. I think that the Cavs are I'm going to pick the Cavs in 5, partially because of how good they looked against Miami. Like that was something that I was worried. Are they going to lose focus going to South Beach for a week? And instead they turned in 2 of the best playoff performances I've ever seen. And I expect that to carry over. What about you?
I think the Pacers are better than last year, as shown by their record and ability, and they were much better against the Bucks. They also played a team in the conference finals last year that had a 122 offensive rating and a 111 defensive rating and lost in 4 games. If Tyrese Haliburton played in all those games, they would not have lost in 4 games, but still, like they did not beat the Celtics. The Cavs have about a 122 offensive rating this season and about a 111 defensive rating, and they won 64 games, which is about what the Celtics won last year. Even if the Pacers are better, I think the Cavs are better enough that they should basically be, by most people, a healthy pick to win. I, like you, have been around the Cavs 6. What am I hovering at? Cavs 6, Cavs 7 mark. Everybody likes, why do people like to be like, I'm picking the team to close it out at home? Like that doesn't happen that much more often, right? The Timberwolves just won on the road to close out their series like 2 days ago. The Knicks might do it tomorrow when this comes out, whatever.
Yesterday when this came out.
Yeah, that's right. This does come out the day after that. So it's possible you see, 2 of those. The Cavs closed out theirs on the road. The Thunder closed out whatever. I think Cavs 6 is what I feel the best about. It's very hard to sweep the Pacers. They have so many guys that can shoot that they will have good nights scoring. They have not lost a home playoff game that Tyrese Haliburton has played in ever. So I still think they'll feel very good about their chances to win a game or 2 in this series. Beating the Cavs 4 times sounds extremely hard. The only way I would be talked out of this, like barring crazy injuries, obviously, like that we can't see, is if Garland is like actually messed up right now. Like if his toe holds him out of game 1, obviously I would then change to like Cavs 7 or Pacers 7 or something like that. Any new injuries in the future would of course change things, but outside of stupid injury stuff, I think the Cavs are just better.
I'm glad you protected yourself with all the injury stuff as to reserving the right to change your prediction later on down the road.
I have seen OG Anunoby and Damian Lillard get hurt against the Pacers in series the last 2 years. So I would not have picked.
Was that important?
I would not have picked the Knicks if I knew what you'd get. I would have picked the Pacers in both Bucks series, regardless of their star status. Turns out they're just better than the Bucks. They're 13-7 against them in the last 2 years. That's the better team. But the Knicks
Bucks have not been good.
Yeah,
I tried telling you. I tried telling you that. I tried telling you that.
You did. I still picked the Pacers, but like, I don't. Did anyone pick Pacers in 5? I think most people were 6 or 7 there. Yeah, I know it's coming in my comment section. Not a believer. Yeah, the Cavs won 64 games, guys. It's not that I don't believe in the Pacers. It's that the Cavs are really good. They're really, really, really good. Anyone who questions how challenging this will be for the Pacers, watch the first half of Cavs Heat Game 3, because I tweeted about it. The Heat were 9 for 20 from 3 at halftime at home in a playoff game, and they were down 22 at halftime. The Cavs are just a buzzsaw. And I'm not saying that to shortchange the Pacers, who are a top 5 record in the NBA since the NBA Cup. They're also very good. I just think the Cavs are a little better.
The Miami Heat led game 3, 15-6, 3.5 minutes in. In the final 90 minutes and 34 seconds of that series, the Cavs outscored the Heat by 101 points. Like, that is an NBA team. Those guys get paid to play basketball, and they got outscored by 101 points in 90 minutes of play.
That's awesome.
At home.
That is an awesome stat. The Pacers are much better than the Heat, but
they are. They absolutely are. But I think that if the Cavs play the way they did in games 3 and 4, even if in game 1, where I thought they played really well, I think that this will be they'll be tested much more than Miami tested them, but I think they'll win this series.
Most likely to tussle.
The Cavs really don't have guys that get into it. Like, basically any confrontation, weirdly enough, in the last couple of years that has involved the Cavs has involved Donovan Mitchell and or Tristan Thompson. Tristan, I wouldn't expect to play in this series unless something goes wrong. And Donovan, I would expect to not get into any altercations because this is really important.
So the answer is Danny Cunningham and Tony East. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into this crossover. Locked On Pacers, Locked On Cavs. Danny, for my listeners, where are you? Where can people find the things you say beyond Locked On Cavs?
You can find my Substack, The Inside Shot. You can find that on my social media at Real D Cunningham on Twitter, at Danny Cunningham and Blue Sky. Tony, where can everyone find you?
Tony R. East on both of those apps is where you can find the things I write about the Pacers, including an upcoming story about how they dispatched Giannis and the Bucks. No John Haliburton talk from me in that article coming today.
Oh, we forgot to talk about him.
He will not be involved in the series, so
no, he
irrelevant.
So
thank you, everybody.
He won't be most likely to tussle.
No, he will not. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. We'll both be back likely tomorrow and certainly after Game 1 Sunday night. See you very soon.